Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, Vegas? Glad you could join us on a Thursday. It's the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Man, do we have a loaded show for you today. Yes, a lot to get to, a lot to go over in the world of sports, NBA trades, a lot of political news to get to involving, yes, our very good friend Donald Trump. But, boy, we got some fun guests today, too. I tell you, this guy, like him or hate him, one of the best college basketball coaches of all time, and he's going to be joining us in hour number 2, Rick Pitino. A lot to get to with him coming up in hour number 2, a live interview with him. Also, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports going to be joining us in hour number 2. So, as I said, a lot to get to. It's going to be fun talking to Rick Pitino as well. But a lot to get to today in the world of sports and news. And I want to start with the story that I think is really, really important, and I think it's a very important distinction. We're talking about Megan Rapinoe and why I think there are some similarities, some good and bad, between her and Colin Kaepernick. You know, there's a comment she made during the World Cup that I want to share with you because I think it's alarming, whether she was joking or not. She said, "You can't win a championship without gays on your team. It's pretty much never been done ever," she said. She also goes on to say, there's a science right there. Now, whether she was joking or not, you can't say stuff like that if you truly want to be taken seriously. And I go back to Colin Kaepernick because I'm going to just say this right now. I do believe that Rapinoe's heart is in the right place. As I said that with Kaepernick, I think his heart was in the right place with the kneeling stuff. Even though you can make the argument of the timing of when Kaepernick decided to kneel, it was when his career was going down the toilet. Not the case with Rapinoe. I mean, you got the Olympics coming up. She's at the pinnacle of her career right now, so that's different. But when Colin Kaepernick decided to wear pig socks, depicting all police officers as pigs, he decided to wear a Fidel Castro shirt. Can people really take that seriously? And I know a lot of Kaepernick people will say, well, you know, he's done a lot more good than bad. Okay, maybe you're right. He's donated money to charity. But has Colin Kaepernick ever sat down with politicians? Has he gone to Washington to try to change the relationship between law enforcement and minorities in this country? Because if you just throw money at an issue, nothing's going to get done, right? Unless you sit down and talk to opposition, nothing's going to usually get done. Has Colin Kaepernick gone into the communities and spoken to police chiefs? Has he spoken to law enforcement? As far as I know, he hasn't. He hasn't spoken to the politicians. And by the way, a lot of people in the NFL, a good number of people, have done that. Colin Kaepernick has not done that. I'll tell you what he has done. He's made a lot of money. He's made more money off the field than probably would have been on the field as a second-rate quarterback in the NFL. And you can make that argument. Is he an NFL player? I don't think so. Now, why do I bring up Colin Kaepernick? Why do I bring up those issues that I've brought up in the past? Well, Rapinoe wants equal pay for women, right? Clearly. And we'll get into that. She wants equal pay for women, gay rights, so on and so forth. Okay, let's say her heart is in the right place. I will give her the benefit of the doubt on that. Why is it that she's doing all these interviews all week? And she said several times that she will go to Washington. She refuses to talk to Donald Trump. And look, that's her choice. She doesn't want to go to the White House. If she doesn't want to talk to Donald Trump, that's fine. I disagree with that decision, but that's fine. But she has said openly on CNN that she will only go to Washington to talk to people that agree with her. That is a quote. That is what she said. Where are we going to get anywhere in this country when it comes to any of the things that she wants, or anybody? If you want to fight on something and you know that there are people that disagree with you, don't you want to have conversations with those people? Now, whether those are lawmakers or your friends or whoever, if you want to change some minds, how can you do that without starting the conversation, without talking to them? To me, it makes absolutely and positively no sense. That is the comparison I am making between Colin Kaepernick and Megan Rapinoe. Colin Kaepernick has not spoken to the politicians. He has not spoken to police chiefs, law enforcement. Huge mistake. Yeah, he's donated some money to help some underprivileged kids. Sure, he's done that. But again, throwing money at a problem is not going to do anything. When Megan Rapinoe decides to go on all these shows, CNN, what have you, it's not going to do anything. And everybody talks about what a great thing that Colin Kaepernick did, by the way, kneeling during the national anthem. And why did he kneel? To bring awareness to, the problems between law enforcement and minorities. Unless you are a racist, you will admit there are issues out there. There's racism in the world. Unless you are a racist, you will admit there are many problems between law enforcement and minorities that need to get fixed. Right? You already knew that. And if you refuse to admit that, then you're a racist, and Colin Kaepernick, kneeling or not, is not going to change your mind on that. To me, it's the same thing with Megan Rapinoe. Either you're for, money, equal money for women and men, or you're not. She's not going to change your mind just by showing up and saying that, right? She's not going to change your mind on equal rights for homosexuals, right? She's not going to change your mind on that. So I don't understand this thing where people say, oh, Colin Kaepernick, you raised awareness. Is there any idiot out there that is not a racist? And I hope you're not, by the way. Unfortunately, there are some people like that out there. But is there anybody out there that didn't know that there were issues between law enforcement and minorities? That at times law enforcement treats minorities differently than others? Is there anybody that didn't know that? So I don't understand this idea. What has Colin Kaepernick done? Have any of the laws changed? Have things changed? Not that I know of. So that's why I bring up Megan Rapinoe. And look, I'm going to bring up a guy right now that I usually disagree with when it comes to a lot of issues. I do have some respect for him. I think he's an extremely intelligent guy. I'm talking about Ben Shapiro. I think he's a smart guy. He's a really good debater. And I sort of agree with him on some of these issues that he brought up not that long ago on his show. And I want to play you a few clips from his show. And in this first clip, Ben Shapiro is talking about equal pay for women. So I want to play you this first clip right now. And again, this is Ben Shapiro in regards to this Megan Rapinoe situation on equal pay for women, and then we'll talk about it. Here's Ben Shapiro.
I have no particular love for soccer generally. I certainly have no particular love for women's soccer, mainly because I care about skill level, and women's soccer is just not at the same skill level as men's soccer. I mean, really not even as teenage boys' soccer in many cases. In any case, this has become a big deal. That's fine. That's fine. But what made it political is that many on the U.S. women's national team decided that they were now going to be social justice heroes. And this meant that they were going to stump for so-called equal pay. Now, as we've talked about on the program, this is a bunch of crap. Women do not deserve equal pay in the World Cup with the men. They do not earn as much money. They do not sell as many tickets. That is simply a fact. When it comes to the U.S. soccer, U.S. national soccer, like in non-World Cup years, then there's maybe a case that women should be paid more. But guess what? They have collective bargaining rights, and they collectively bargained for a contract 2 years ago. So if they did a bad job negotiating, that would be on them. Also, it is true they don't sell as many tickets overall as the men, particularly when you include World Cup years. When you include World Cup years, men dramatically outsell the women, by $10 million.
He's absolutely right. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I completely agree with Ben Shapiro. Listen, I'm not a big soccer fan either. The facts speak for themselves. We're not talking about in the normal workplace. We're not talking about professional athletes here. If we're talking about office jobs, that sort of stuff, I am all for equal pay for women, maybe even more pay if they're doing a better job, absolutely. But the U.S. men's soccer team has earned more money than the women. So how can you make the argument the women deserve more money than the men? That is absolutely and positively absurd. It makes no sense. Why won't someone bring this up to Megan Rapinoe? Why won't someone, whether it's CNN or wherever the hell she's going on, why won't somebody address this with her? She is wrong. The men's soccer team has earned more money, period. End of story. What's next? Are we going to pay a WNBA player millions of dollars? When we know that league loses money every year. Look, I love going to the Aces games. Don't get me wrong. They're a lot of fun to go to. Those women play really hard. They deserve a lot of credit. And so does the U.S. soccer team, the women's soccer team. They deserve a ton of credit for winning the World Cup. They're a fantastic team. Megan Rapinoe is an unbelievable athlete. She deserves all the credit in the world for that. In no way, shape, or form does that have anything to do with that. It has to do with the fact how many people are paying for tickets, how much money is the WNBA is a losing product, period. There's no argument here. Is there really anybody out there that thinks a WNBA player should be making millions of dollars like the men? It makes no sense. And that has to be addressed. And if Megan Rapinoe is going to be taken seriously, you need to be logical here. Yes, equal pay for women in the normal workplace. I absolutely, positively, 100% am all for that. I am all for gay rights. I have no problem with gay marriage. I don't like discrimination. I don't like what our vice president does when he talks about homosexuality or anybody else. I am all for that with her. I am with her on that. And she has credibility when it comes to that stuff because I would imagine she has been the victim of some bad people saying some things about homosexuality, in my opinion. She has credibility there. And I'm also jealous of her because she's dating Sue Bird, but that's another story for another show. But all seriousness, it's pretty simple, folks. If they're not making the money, you cannot make that argument, period. Now, here's where it kind of gets into some different territory here with Ben Shapiro. Now he starts talking about Megan Rapinoe. And by the way, we will take some calls on this in a few minutes. I want to play that second cut with Ben Shapiro. Here's Shapiro now, no relation to me, by the way, talking about Rapinoe's fame. So I want to play that clip.
We are talking about Megan Rapinoe is getting $1 million contracts specifically because of her sexuality and because she is a very, very good soccer player. But let's not make any mistake. If she were a very good soccer player and she were not a very outspoken lesbian, she would be getting fewer contracts because she is seen as a political figure. She's sort of Colin Kaepernick, but with actual talent at her sport. All of this is obnoxious, but we're supposed to pretend that actually she's quite charming and wonderful, that it is not obnoxious to live in the best time for women, in the best time for lesbians, in the best time for women's soccer in the history of the world, and in the best country in the history of the world for any of those things. We're supposed to pretend that actually she's a victim and America's a terrible place so that she can make more money, presumably. Pretty gross.
So here's where I disagree with Ben Shapiro. And by the way, we'll take your calls on this issue, as we always do, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Just because that might be true that this is the best time for lesbians in this country doesn't mean that more shouldn't be done. If anybody out there wants to say that homosexuals are not being discriminated against, just look at our vice president. They absolutely are. So that's where Ben Shapiro was wrong. As far as the fame goes, yeah, I guess I will have look, I have a problem with Colin Kaepernick making all this money from Nike when I don't believe he's done the legwork needed to be done as far as talking to politicians, as far as going to Washington, talking to law enforcement. I think he could have done more. And when people want to say, well, he sacrificed his career. First of all, his career was going down the toilet anyway. He's made more money off the field. So I don't buy that argument at all. As far as Rapinoe goes, she's in the pinnacle of her career. She's probably going to be in the 2020 Olympics. Wouldn't be surprised if she won a gold medal. So that's not the case with her. But yes, I do believe she's probably going to be making more money, bigger contracts, because she's so outspoken. I don't know if it's because she's a lesbian or not. I don't know if I agree with Ben Shapiro on that. But she is outspoken, and she has begun to be political. I shouldn't say begun because she's been like this for a while now. She's extremely outspoken. If she doesn't talk to the opposition, and by that I don't mean straight people, folks. If she doesn't talk to politicians that disagree with some of her stances, and she makes a lot more money because of her being outspoken, not just because she is a great soccer player, and she is, then I'm going to have a problem with that. And you should too. What do you guys think about that? We'll take your calls, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 702-257-5396. And by the way, when you say you can't win a championship without gays on your team, whether you're joking or not, if you want to be taken seriously, don't make stupid statements like that. It's idiotic, folks. It's idiotic, just like Kaepernick wearing pig socks or wearing a Fidel Castro shirt. If you want to be taken seriously on the world stage and talk about serious issues that are close to your heart, don't say stupid things like that. It does not help her cause either. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing good. What's up?
equal pay for equal play, it's a joke. Okay, there's no denying the ladies are far superior than the men talent-wise. But here is
wait, hold on. Wait, you just said the women are far superior to the men? Did you misspeak, or do you mean that?
Well, 4 championships to none.
Okay, hold on a second. If a junior high school female team wins a junior high national championship, are they better than Bishop Gorman High School? That doesn't make any sense at all. We're talking about skill level, and we're also talking about people that are paying for tickets. We're talking about money. They can win 30 championships in a row, but if they're not making the same amount of money that the men's soccer team is making, then your point doesn't make any sense, with all due respect.
But hold on. The women, okay, here's the thing. The women have generated more.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't.
And whatnot.
They have not. No, you're wrong.
Wait, hold on. Wait, you're not letting me finish.
Well, because you're not making sense. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Okay, here's the deal, right? The ladies have won, okay? But unfortunately for the equal pay for equal play people, you're right. It does come down to money. The U.S. Soccer Federation is funded by the following. The MLS, every subsequent minor league that exists, every association that's associated with U.S. soccer, that funds the federation. Now, there's a professional women's league, which most of the people listening to this have no idea that there is, right? The MLS plays in big stadiums.
Lewis, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to make it very, very simple for you, okay? The bottom line is the men's – this is a fact, by the way. I'm not making this up. The U.S. men's soccer team makes more money every year than the women's team. Okay, so if the men make more, so if the men make more money than the women, how can you say the women deserve?
So eager to let me finish.
I'm trying to give you time, but I'm setting it out for you. It's very simple. I'll repeat it again.
Correct.
The men's soccer team. Hold on.
Most people that are listening to your show don't understand soccer and don't understand.
It has nothing to do with. Listen, Lewis. Again, I'm trying not to interrupt you, but I'm going to ask it again. It's very simple. If the men's soccer team makes more money than the women's team, when I mean by makes more money, I'm talking about ticket sales, jerseys, everything.
I agree with you. We're making the same point, buddy. You're just not letting me finish.
Okay, well, I'm getting confused.
And I understand it's your show and you can do what you want, but just let me finish.
Go ahead.
Right? The men generate more money. Also, equal pay for equal play. The men play more international competition. There's Copa America. There's Gold Cup. Mm-hmm. There's more international tournaments for the men.
I'm trying to figure out how I thought we were disagreeing, Lewis. Maybe I'm wrong.
You're trying to tell me how it works. I understand how it works.
Okay, I apologize then. Okay, so we're in agreement. Then. So let me ask you this then, Lewis, and I apologize for that. What would you say to Megan Rapinoe right now if you had a chance to speak with her?
If I had a chance to speak with her, I would tell her that she's full of it. And here's why. Because if I'm Colgate and I go to her and say, Megan, I've got an endorsement for you.
Right.
Oh, is she going to say, well, I need an endorsement for all 22 of my players?
No, she would never say that. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Equal pay for equal pay
is
garbage.
Lewis, we agree, and I apologize. I kind of misunderstood the first part of your phone call. That's my bad. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you. 257-5396. Let's go to Jim. Jim, what's going on?
Hey, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm going to have to kind of take Lewis's side on this, and Brian, you have so many arguments that are kind of going on here, and there's a lot of them that are wrong. But the point and I wish I could hit each one, but you've got a lot of calls to take. But the one that I did want to mention is that both U.S. Soccer and FIFA in general are sitting on a bunch of cash, and the investment into women's soccer is highly disproportional. And if they were, and I think one of the points that Megan Rapinoe wants to make is that if they were to invest in women's soccer, then they could get to a point where there would be enough money to start paying them equally.
Okay, so let me ask you something on that then.
Yep.
Let me ask you something on that then. Let's just say they, did just as good of a job in pushing the women's sport as they did the men. Do you truly believe that the women's soccer team would make more money on an annual basis than the men's team?
Not in yours or my lifetime, but the game.
Well, there you go. Then you answered my
game
question.
against Taiwan. What? But you can't think of things in 20-year things.
I'm
Sometimes
not
you have to
thinking of
think
things
about-
in 20 years. I'm thinking of it right now. Until the women can make
course.
more money than the men, then they don't deserve more money. It's pretty simple, Jim.
But you solve problems by starting to solve the problem.
Do
And
you?
by-
I mean, to me, that Jim, with all due respect, I completely disagree with you. It's cut and dry. If you're not making money, then you don't deserve more money. If the men are making more money, it's just like the NBA and the WNBA.
But her argument is a lot more than just making money.
Let me ask you a question then. Okay, fair enough. We can agree to disagree on that. You made your point eloquently. I made mine. Let me ask you this, Jim. Why is it then that if she has all these disagreements, why is it that she refuses to have a conversation with anyone that disagrees with her? Are you okay with that?
No, and I'm not, and I would, while I'm proud to consider her an American and I stand with her on so many other issues.
Yeah,
I think she's also pretty arrogant.
Yeah,
and,
she is. She is.
And
Yep.
that's to a fault, and she's not
Yeah.
helping her cause by being arrogant.
Agree, Jim. I got to get to some other calls, my friend. I appreciate the call. I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that. Again, the number to call if you want to chime in on this one, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Brady, you're next. What's going on?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up this Rapinoe. I think she just went around about how she did things from the start all the way from the beginning. She disrespected the flag. She disrespected the president.
Well, that's. I mean,
all the way through, and then like after she was done, even and it continues through. She won the championship. I understand, great. But then at the end, she does her speech. Her speech, he's drunker than snot on champagne, yelling at the people in the crowd, yelling "equal pay, bitches."
Yeah.
We're just chilling.
Well, listen, I don't necessarily, Brady, hold on. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think if you're going to be a role model and you're going to choose to talk about some very serious subjects, you should probably conduct yourself in a more appropriate way. So I don't disagree with you. As far as disrespecting the flag, look, it's not something that I would do. I wouldn't take a knee. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think there are other ways you can do it without kneeling during the national anthem. But with that being said, that's under debate. I don't find it extremely disrespectful. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it. But we can agree to disagree on that. My biggest problem with her, Brady, is that she's unwilling to have a conversation with people in Washington that might not agree with her. That's my biggest issue with her.
Yeah, agreed, because she said she'd meet with Chuck Schumer and AOC and wouldn't meet with President Trump. You're kind of doing yourself a disservice by that. You're really limiting yourself.
No, I agree. What good are you going to get if you only talk to politicians that agree with you? Nothing's going to get done and no change is going to be made,
And you can see what happened when, the Colin Kaepernick, all the stuff that he did with the kneeling, they lost 40% of their viewership in the NFL. Don't think that didn't hurt the NFL. And, I mean, that's what's going to happen to the soccer sport of women. I know she's a great role model right now, but a lot of people turned that soccer off as soon as she started dissing the flag.
There could be some truth to that, Brady, and it's good to hear from you. I appreciate the call. You made some good points there. 257-5396. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, you're next. What's going on?
Hey, how are you doing? I have to admit, I usually disagree with you, but on this subject, you're right on. You're hitting all the right points. A couple of numbers: the men's World Cup in one World Cup tournament earned $6 billion.
Yep.
The women's, I think, in all their international play for 4 years was something like $135 million.
Yeah.
That's it's not even comparable.
It's not even close.
And when you're talking about skill level as well. The women's national teams throughout the world are regularly beaten by junior boys teams. And
I think that's the reason,
all the time.
And there's the answer, and that's usually the reason. Look, people go for a good product, and some people go for different. Look, if people want to go and support the U.S. women's soccer team or the WNBA, I got no problem with that. I go to WNBA games; they're fun. I enjoy going to ACM, but it's about money. We're talking about money.
I have to say, Miss Rapinoe is really. It's a shame she's really not taking advantage of the situation, because
I couldn't agree with you more. Yes,
I really want to cheer for them. I want to root for them, but when they do stuff like step on the flag or say F you to the president or whatever she says, it just makes it more difficult. And the idea is to want people to generate interest in the sport, and she's doing the exact opposite by what she's doing.
I agree.
So,
I agree, Jeff. Well said, Jeff. No, I agree with everything you said there. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. 257-5396, coming up on a break here. Look, it's pretty simple. I don't know why people want to make this more difficult than it is, and a lot of the callers are correct. This is about money. If it's about equal rights, equal pay for women in regards to the workplace, look, if you're doing the same job a man is doing, great. But when we're talking about athletics, this is a whole different ballgame. It is about the money at the door. How much money is your franchise making? All due respect to the Las Vegas Aces, I will bring them up again, but it's a good analogy. Do you think the Las Vegas Aces are making find me the worst NBA team. How much money are they making compared to the Las Vegas Aces? I guarantee you the Aces are not making anywhere near what an NBA franchise makes. Okay? And that is the problem. You can't justify paying a woman the same amount as a man if they're not making the same amount of money for their franchise. It is rather obvious, beyond obvious. I don't understand why people don't. I mean, I think the majority of the people get what I'm saying, but I think there are still some people out there that are supporters. Look, there's nothing wrong with supporting Megan Rapinoe. She's an unbelievable soccer player. I am happy that the U.S. women's soccer team won. I'm not a big soccer fan. I didn't watch 1 minute of it. I just don't enjoy watching soccer. All due respect to them. It's great. It's fantastic. We'll continue this discussion on the other side of the break. And by the way, Coach Rick Pitino will be joining us coming up in hour number 2. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. I'm going to ask him some questions about UNLV as well. So Rick Pitino in hour number 2. Also, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports will be joining us as well. The ESPYs, did you guys catch that? There were some interesting storylines with the ESPYs last night in L.A. We'll get to that much, much more. Take your calls at 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.